Hello. So we've been doing quite a lot of strength work in class, and today in class we've spent quite a lot of time just workshopping some movements that are really warming. They're very warming for the muscles and very warming for the joints, but actually they're really hard and they take up quite a lot of a class, and they can be quite energy zapping, although I love them. And for me, they really build energy. But for a lot of people, it's something that is best practiced little by little. So I want to workshop in this class the downward facing dog to plank and the downward facing dog to step through mechanic. This is a workshop, so there's not going to be a lot of flowing through or anything like that. These are just breakdowns of how we do these certain movements, and then you can play with the exercises that we use at your own pace or with the video if you want to, however it works for you. Once you understand the mechanics, then probably the workshop is less useful, except as a reminder. If you're not warm and you're planning on working through, then you really, really need to get warm, because there's not going to be a huge amount of warming up beyond cat-cow, which might just tire out your wrists and your knees. So I would recommend going into the channel videos and pick out, probably I think the best one, in my opinion, is the quick hands-free vinyasa flow. So it's like a quick pick-me-up. It's 18 minutes long. It's all standing vinyasa. But if you follow the instruction to engage through the core and keep the hips fairly square as you take the movements and really build heat in your abdomen, switch your muscles on and reach quite firmly, then you will build quite a lot of warmth into your joints and you'll be ready for this work. So other note is that if you're a person who has wrist, hand, possibly, tennis elbow, forearm tendonitis, you can still do this workshop, but you will need blocks because you can do it all on forearms. And I would recommend, I mean, not everybody's measurements are the same. There's going to be a point in this class where you're going to need the elevation of being on hands and knees. So I've got 6 blocks. Now, not everybody has 6 blocks. I mean, I'm sure if you've got a nice yoga teacher, they will lend you 6 blocks if you want to practice this. You could also use a pile of books, but they need to be symmetrical. So hands and knees, look at that height of my arms, which are just a bit short actually. So there's a fair bit of space there, not quite enough for me at the best of times. But if I was on forearms for some of this movement, I'd want to be elevated, so I've got room to work. The rest of the time, I don't really need the elevation. And when we workshop this in class, even on hands and knees, I recommend having 1 set of blocks, because this extra 3 inches of space does make a huge difference. As you get stronger, it doesn't matter as much, but to be honest with you, these blocks are not here to make it easier, they're here to make it accessible, no pain. So the other thing that I will, and also because body proportions vary and most people do not have those perfect proportions of ballet dancers and gymnasts. So here we go. You can do this just because you maybe have arthritis, you maybe have Raynaud's disease, you maybe have any other disorder that affects your joints, or if you're suffering with an injury. Probably the only injury I would say that's prohibitive in this particular workshop is shoulder injuries. You really need to allow your shoulders to strengthen up again. And there are different ways of doing that. You can talk to me about it. Shoulders need to be strengthened and healed before you hammer them. Shoulders are required for this work. Right. Although you can do all the all four stuff, you just won't be able to do the downward facing dog work. So let's start out in child's pose, just for a bit of a stretch. Reach forward, come to the breath, nice deep breaths. I'm just going to take the arms forward because I want to switch my shoulders on. We're not going to stay here for ages. As I said, it's a workshop, so we're going to grow out of child's pose. Let's take a little bit of breathing, a little bit of lengthening.
Any version of child's pose is fine, but I would suggest keeping it a bit more switched on. So try not to rest into it and round too much at this stage. Spread the fingers wide. You can even press into the hands and slightly lift the elbows if you want, or you can even lift the palms if that suits you. Lovely stuff. One more deep breath, and this time on the exhale, start to pull the belly in. Just this little scooping up, like you're trying to pull your belly off the floor. Lovely. And let's just keep that slight connection, but draw the breath a little bit into the chest. There's a little bit of abdominal work here. Just start to engage. You need to be connected to those abdominal muscles to help you with this work. When you're ready, we're going to meet in tabletop, all fours. Knees under hips, hands under shoulders. And just keep adjusting, checking in with your tabletop position all the time. Keep checking. I'm going to start with some cat-cow. The focal point of the reason we need this is to warm through, but also I want us to pay attention to cat pose, that lifting of the spine, that strengthening out of the arms. So let's roll through. As you inhale, lift your heart, lift your tailbone, sink the spine down, gaze forward, and as you exhale, round the spine. Lift high out of the arms. And just keep rolling through, make it as bendy as you want to start with. You can allow your elbows to bend back. When you inhale, if you want to really increase that range of movement and lengthen out through the arms when you exhale. So just rolling, 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 rolling. This room is really cold and it just makes everything feel slightly stiff. I don't like it. And I will complain continually until next May. Oh well, that's just how I roll. People who come to my classes are just really used to tuning me out. It's not that helpful ultimately, but hey, it's all good. Right. Let's pause. Next time you're in cat pose with the spine high, let's just have a little look at what's going on here. So this is the posture that will inform our ongoing work. So let's just neutralize it a little bit. You can start to lengthen out the neck and gaze between the hands rather than between the knees. Press out of the hands and pay attention to the shoulder blades wrapping around the chest. Inside of the elbows are sort of pointing towards each other. And you can start to neutralize the lower back. Let the tailbone come to a neutral position. Keep pressing out the hands and start to pull your belly up, like you want your belly to not touch the front of your trousers or your shorts or whatever you're wearing, leggings. Just a scoop. This is strong, right? If you're really working, you'll start to feel your arms getting strong, your shoulders are starting to work. So pressing like you're trying to shove the ground away. Okay, let's relax that. We're just gonna sit back, sit your bum back towards your heels, relax your arms, take a breather. And while we're here, let's knit the fingers together. You can bring your arms forward, knit your fingers together, and keep your elbows down. Just pick up your forearms and start to roll figures of 8 or circles with your knitted fingers. Just a little bit more warming. So that doming is what we're looking for, that feeling of lifting out the spine. It's an exaggeration of what we're looking for, but it is what we look for. Strength in shoulder girdles. So you can do all of that on all fours with your blocks, or you can do it on forearms without your blocks. You can do it with the blocks. What we're coming towards now, if you're working on forearms, you're going to need to have your blocks to create some space. So we are going to layer up all of this work between static strengthening and moving stretches. And it's going to be very important for you to stay where you're comfortable, wherever suits you. Stay in your comfort zone. Work is allowed, challenge is allowed, but there's no point going beyond what you're able to do. So we're layering.
let's go around layering. We'll have tiger balances next, building more heat. Before we get to tiger balances, let's tuck the toes. Find that neutral position, that lifting through the arms, but not really intensely. So just a slight lift, shoulder blades are wrapping a little bit around the chest, but not sinking around the spine. Tuck the toes, lift the knees 1 inch, gazing at the floor, keep breathing. Pull the belly up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale to lower. Anytime you need to rest going forward, take your rest as you need it. Extend the left leg back behind you, all 5 toes, pointing to the ground. Hips are square with the mat to the best of your ability. Extend the right arm forward, gaze down at the mat, tiger balance, number 1. Pull that belly up, 5. Keep pressing out of your grounded arm, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to switch sides. Stabilize yourself, extend, right leg back, left arm forward. You can keep arm and leg down, it's fine. You can stay grounded for the balance if you want. Let's breathe. 5, stay strong. 4, hips square with mat. 3, 2, 1. Release, sit back. Just give your shoulders and arms a little break. You might not need the break. If you're a person who doesn't need the break, you can come back, you can hold each side longer. Just a reminder, I'm famous for burying the lead when it comes to strength work. The work will ramp up, so don't tire yourself out now, because there's going to be stuff that you might want to do later that you've run out of energy for because you've wasted it all on all fours. Right, so let's take this up a notch. I'm going to use blocks for this because it's useful to have space. So if you're working on all fours, you don't want to pile up your blocks now, with forearms, I mean. If you're on all fours, I recommend using blocks for this anyway, because it's useful to have the space, but not everybody needs it. If you've got long arms, you don't really need the blocks, probably. You don't really need the blocks anyway, it just feels nicer with them. So we're going to take those stretches and layer up. Shoulders back. Nice and square in your tabletop position. Gazing between the hands, inhale, lift your right leg high. Exhale, round your spine, lift out of the shoulder blades, knee comes forward. You can try tapping your knee to your nose. I can't do it. Inhale, lift your heart, lift the leg. Exhale, round the spine, knee to nose. Scoop the belly in. You say knee to nose, they don't touch. Exhale, round. 2 more. Inhale, open up. Focus on abdomen pulling in and shoulders pulling down around the chest. Last one. Exhale, round. Lovely. Switch sides. Inhale, open up. Exhale, round. Inhale, open up. Shoulders wrapping around. Lengthen out those arms. You feel really strong. Open up. Exhale, round. Knee to nose. 2 more. And release. Have a breather. Sit back on your heels if you like child's pose. There are some people who don't like child's pose. You can just come in for a seat and have a little shake out and a wiggle. Massage out your wrists if you need to. If you're on forearms, same. It's the same thing. Sit back on your heels, have a stretch. So that is your rounding, scooping, making room for your knee to come through. That is part of the mechanic for the step through in downward facing dog. Because we're on all fours, we're practicing all these movements on all fours, and then we'll bring them up to downward facing dog and we'll layer through them again. So let's just keep breathing, working through. I'm going to do that whole set of movements. This next one we're going to do, I don't like this movement. I find it really restrictive, and I find it a little bit annoying, but it's a really useful one. It works very, very well for most people. It's just me because I like big movements, and this is quite a small controlled movement. I feel quite compressed when I do it, but the blocks do make it easier in terms of the psychology of the thing. So When you're ready, we're going to take that movement and the spinal balance movement, smash them together, and it's going to be arm and leg. So you can just stay with whatever works for you. Right. On your inhale, left leg back, right arm forward. Exhale, knee to elbow, round the spine, lift out to that grounded hand. Inhale, open up. Exhale, round, pull the belly in, knee to elbow. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. About 5 reps is enough of each, in my opinion. If you like these better, or if you have a frozen shoulder or shoulder injury, you should just stay with these movements. It's fine. Switch sides when you've done 5. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. 3. Belly pulling in, rounding through the spine, strong through the arms. 4. Last one. 5. Release. Round, sit back, stretch forward, and just have a bit of a child's pose or your version of whatever a stretch might look like. A little bit of a shakeout, whatever that looks like for you. So we're going to come into shortly downward facing dog. The work that we do in downward dog can somewhat be replicated between forearm plank and dolphin pose. Dolphin pose is downward facing dog on forearms. So if you're chilling, resting, or watching, or whatever you're doing, I will just quickly demonstrate for those who perhaps are not familiar with dolphin. I'm going to show you dolphin, forearm plank, downward dog and plank, and you'll see these different postures that we're going to create. And the point of this workshop is to bring integrity into the movement. I spent about 4 years doing these movements very poorly because I was in classes where the teachers weren't teaching them in this way. It would have been a lot, and that was fine, it was fine, it worked for me, but it would have been a lot quicker if there had been some teaching. So, right, let's start with dolphin. Come down, if you want to practice these with me, you're welcome to. So I'm going to come down onto hands and knees. I'm going to stretch my arms out forward, sink the chest down towards the ground, forearms on the ground. And here I'm just going to allow my, because dolphin is a really strong inversion, so I'm just going to let my body settle into this posture here. Lovely. Just for another breath, I'm going to start to walk the hands in a bit. So my elbows are now underneath my shoulders. So I'm in my tabletop pose, but on forearms. I'm going to let my head relax. So I'm gazing just between the knees here. And this is to orient you. Some people have a very, very hard time in these upside down postures because they're not oriented. So do just let your head dangle. You are not, your head is not on the ground and you're not going to bash your head on the ground. Start to tuck your toes and just gaze between the legs. It's just let yourself be upside down here. This might be enough for you. If you're not keen on inversions, actually you might just need to stick with the downward dog variation. When you're ready, you can just lift the heels and nothing is going to happen. Your head, your legs will lengthen back. You can keep your knees bent. Shoulders might draw back. You're just gazing between the feet there. This is very, very strengthening for shoulders. So if you have a shoulder injury that you're healing little by little over time, you can do a little bit of forearm work. Maybe not this, but you can work towards this. Dolphin, this is dolphin. So dolphin to forearm plank doesn't go. You have to wiggle your feet back and then round forward into your forearm plank. And forearm plank is very, very strong. You got to really work it. So that's your forearm plank. And I'm going to say, if you're doing this work on forearms, my days, it's hard work. And don't do long sleeps because you don't stick to the mat. So in your dolphin pose, when you do dolphin to forearm plank, it's not going to be a perfect movement. There's going to be rounding in your spine. So come into a dolphin pose as we did.
Make it a little bit wider, not too wide. So your shoulders are going to be just a little bit back from your elbows. As you exhale, round, lift your heels round forward and lengthen into your version of plank. It's an extended plank. It might not be great. For your shoulders, if it hurts, then this might be just where you stop. You can see there's a dome there. So if you're practicing along with me, you're going to want to come out and shake off a little bit. That's your forearm work, and I'll probably do a separate video on that because it really does have its own mechanic, but you can do as much as you can. Let's go for downward facing dog. And in downward facing dog, we're going to use that cat-cow mechanic, that knee to nose mechanic, to bring dog into plank. Dog, plank, dog, plank. You can bring your knees down at any stage in all of these practices. That is what knees are for. So let's sit back on the heels, tuck toes, reach the arms forward, inhale to square up, exhale, lift your hips up and back, get comfy in your downward facing dog. If downward facing dog is not a great posture for you, then this is not a great exercise for you. Your dog needs to feel very secure and fairly comfortable. So take your rest when you need them. We need to get this dog really nice. You need to make sure that your feet are a comfortable distance apart. We normally start with hip joint distance as a marker. It's different for different people. I like to have my feet a little closer together, actually. A little wider doesn't feel so good for me. Some people like to have their feet completely together. Some people like to take their legs out very, very wide. Whether you're going for an Afghan hound or a Chihuahua just is based on your body and what feels good for you. Arms should really be shoulder distance or a little wider because you want a nice stable base. Spread those fingers wide, so no delicate hands in yoga, no delicate feet in yoga. It's all very clumped. Heels are probably lifted. You can keep the knees bent until they start to warm up, start to pedal out legs. Thumbs in the air, hips are angling up towards the ceiling, spine lengthening down towards the ground from the tailbone, down, down, down to the neck. Neck is relaxed, so you are gazing between the ankles and your head can roll around and dangle very freely. So you can pedal out, you can fidget as much as you need to whenever we're in dog. You should be feeling quite warm, so if you need to rest now, you rest. Pause this and come back when you've had a bit of a stretch out. We need to pay close attention now to your shoulder blades. And are they wrapping around? See, if you're watching the video, I'm going to let my chest sink down towards the ground. Shoulder blades are wrapping around my spine, which used to feel really nice, but since I've stopped doing it, it doesn't feel great. It feels quite bad, actually. What we need to get is that feeling of wrapping the shoulder blades around the chest. So it's like you're using the outer edges of your arms to hide your armpits, which is a terrible cue, which I hate, but it is quite true, accurate. Wrap your shoulder blades around your chest, pull them away from your spine, and your dog will be much harder and much stronger. So there you go, that's a strong downward facing dog. Let's lift the heels up high, bring the knees down to the ground, sit back, stretch out. So just keep your heels lifted, relax. You can bring your head to the ground or to a block and just relax your arms a little bit. So they will probably have worked. I am quite strong. And my arms just need a break before we go on to the next bit. Even if you're feeling completely fine, the next bit is going to ask quite a lot of your shoulders and your arms. So let's just give them a little breather. You can stay in this very active child's pose. Elbows can stay on the floor. Bring your palms of your hands together across the thumbs. Keep the elbows down. Bring the thumbs back. Just stretch out the arms a bit. Nice deep breaths. We're not staying much longer, just enough to refresh, soften. I'm trying to be better at giving people rests. Okay. Stay as long as you need to. When you're ready, release the arms, make your way back to downward facing dog for our first set of exercises. Remember cat-cow, we're using the cat mechanic. So reach all the way back. Cat mechanic, we need to bring our shoulders over our wrists. So to start with, just lift your head, gaze between your hands,
and bring your shoulders forward over your wrists and then go back. Don't worry about anything else. Back into downward facing dog. Lift your gaze between your hands. Gently draw your shoulders over your wrists. Draw back. Now, if what I see, usually when people first start this, is what's happening here, I'm going to see a lot of people with their bums in the air or sagging. So you can come down, bring your knees down to the ground, have a little peek at the screen. You get a lot of this. Bum in the air. And you get a lot of this. And neither of those is what we want. But you have started to get that movement into the shoulders that brings the shoulders over the wrists. So come back to downward facing dog. Do that a couple more times. Do not bother to think about anything. You can move back and forth. So you can think about the toes and how your feet can move freely. They don't have to stay stock still. Your whole body can be very fluid. Lift your gaze between your hands, bring your shoulders over your wrists. Back. Gaze between the toes. Lift your gaze, draw shoulders over the wrists. Don't worry about sagging, any of those things, but let your heels lift as you come. Heels lift as you come forward. Heels pull back as you go back. It's a mechanical movement. Have a breather, come down, rest, massage out your wrists if you need to. We're going to make this mechanical movement, shoulders over wrists, into something with integrity and strength. So by the end of that practice, we're bringing shoulders over wrists. We're lifting the heels as we come forward and we're letting the heels drop back as we go back. So you're lengthening out the body. Next step, we're going to help that by rounding into the movement. So you stay in your rest, watch the screen. People often follow along when I demonstrate, and it's not always useful because you need to sort of see what's happening. So as I demonstrate, I'll do 3 rounds and then we'll do them together. Cat movement. So far we've pulled forward, lifted the hips, bring the shoulders forward. Lovely. That's the 2 extremes of the body working, and we're shifting our gaze. Now when we do this, we are also going to pull the belly in and round the spine as we come forward. So on an exhale, lift your head, pull your belly in, round your spine, lift out of your shoulder blades and come forward. See how my heels have lifted and then roll back. So we're just going to keep this rolling through. So when you're ready, you can come into downward facing dog. On your exhale, come up high, pull your belly in, really hollow the belly, round the spine, spread the shoulder blades, gaze in between the hands, roll forward and roll back. So now it's a bit more of an arching. Round as you come forward, you can come all the way onto tiptoes if you're super strong, and then go back. You can keep practicing this as long as you want, as long as your body will let you. There are 2 variations here. There's the full plank, where you round all the way forward, you stop over the wrists, press the heels away, pull the belly in, round the shoulders and become very strong. You can gaze a little bit forward or between the hands, just work where is good for you. This is really strong work. And you can hold that for as long as you're able to. There's a second variation which will take you through to low plank, chaturanga. I'm going to show you that just in case there's anyone here wanting to work on that mechanic and they have already nailed their plank. So if that's you, when you lift your heels, pull your belly in firmly. So you're switching on your bandhas, you're pulling up your pelvic floor and scooping your belly up and into your rib cage. Rounding through, you're coming all the way to tiptoes and bringing your shoulders beyond your wrists and then lifting out and back. You don't do that if you've got a shoulder injury. Try that again. You inhale, come all the way forward onto tiptoes and lift and shoulders beyond wrists. Back. If you're just doing the plank version, you're going to keep those foot pads all the way down, clamp to the ground. If you're practicing chaturanga, it's right onto the tips of your toes. Belly pulling in, nose sagging, and back. Let's have a breather, knees down, toes together. So you just do what you can do.
What we just did was a lot of work. You can weave your fingers together and draw your hands to the back of your head. Keep the elbows down. Just keep the shoulder blades drawing around, separating. Try not to let them collapse. This is a lot of strength.
And you only do what you need to do at the stage you're at. So you stay with what suits you. So we've done that mechanic, rounding forward to plank, rounding forward to plank. Rest as long as you need to. This might be it for you. You might just want to leave this. You might want to just carry on, or you might just want to watch and see where things can go as you get stronger. When you come forward to plank, we need to hold a good strong plank. And what does that feel like? So if you're down, until you get strong, your downward facing dog doesn't necessarily completely translate into a plank. So let's come back to all fours. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. This is how you find out what plank feels like. And you may, when I'm in class, I come and help people position themselves correctly. Plank is always a lot harder than anyone thinks it is. So you might need to just use the screen. If you've got camera on your screen or Zoom or something, just have a little watch of yourself and see where you're going. In your plank, shoulders stay strong, pull out of those shoulders. You want to feel the shoulder blades wrapping around. Little effort, right? Effort is allowed, it's good. Stretch your left foot back, gaze down between your hands, press the heel away. It's very, very strong engagement with that back leg. Then take the other leg back. It should feel hard. If you felt your back sag straight away, hard work, pull it up just for one breath. And then you can lower the knees and sit back. Now, if that was just a bit too much for you, there's another option here for you. So try this as well. Everybody should try this. Come back to all fours. Send your left leg back, nice and strong, same as we just did. Pull your belly in, round your spine. Put your left knee down on the floor. It's about a foot further back than you're right now. Take the other leg back, press into the hands and lower that knee. Still a lot of work. And this is your half plank and it's perfectly good. So from here, you can, elbows tucked in, lower your body down and forward. And this is how in yoga you come down to the ground. This is your halfway mark. I mean, if I'll be very surprised if you're not tired right now. Let's tuck the toes, keep the knees down, press into the hands and lift. That's your half push-up. And let's sit back on the heels. Lovely. Stretch it out. This is all strong work. So we come back, all fours. If you keep your knees down, you'll be ready for your plank here. Lift your right leg, stretch it back, pull your belly in, lengthen out the arms, left leg back, lengthen out the arms. There's your plank. Inhale as you roll it back to downward facing dog. Have a pedal out. Take a breather if you need to. We're just going to pick up, right? So we're going to pick this up into, you've done your preparation for Chaturanga. I'll come back to that because the people who want to do that, they're going to be here till the very end. So we're just going to look at the step through. So you've got the rounding of the spine. You can round and then lower your knees, lift up and roll back, and play with this as much as you want. Round, shoulders over wrists, lower the knees, pick them up, roll back. You're going to get really strong. Let's have a look at the step through. So remember when we were in all fours and we picked up a leg, stretched it back and then brought the knee in towards the chest. And we're going to do that now. So pick up your right leg high and downward facing dog, feels pretty good. Exhale, round the spine, knee towards the nose. So just touch your, if you can, tap your nose to your knee. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, round the spine, lift your left heel high, shoulders over wrists, knee comes forward. You might be able to tap your nose. Try it 2 more times. Shoulders over wrists, knee comes forward. 1 more time. Lift your right leg high. Shoulders come over the wrist. Dome that upper back. Sit back. Have a little breather, shake it off. Anything you need, downward facing, not downward facing dog, we've just been there. Seated, shake off the hands. It's hard work, right? It's all hard work. I mean, it feels, I really like the feeling of this kind of work in my body, but it's a lot. Right. Stretch out the hands a little bit, and we need to do the other side. So 4 rounds, it's the same movement. Downward facing dog, right? Comfortable dog. Take your time to get comfy in it. Inhale, lift your left leg high. Exhale, round your spine, bring your knee in between the arms or knee to nose if you like the rounding. Notice your standing leg. There needs to be a lift in that heel as the knee comes forward. The mechanic in the shoulders needs to be there. You're pulling your belly in to make room for your leg. You're rounding your spine and your shoulders are drawing forward over your wrists. So you're not pointy anymore. The last one. All the way forward. And then take a breather. Knees down, toes together, rest. Any variation of child's pose or any other posture that you like. Breathe and rest. So when you get that mechanic, rounding the spine, rolling forward, bringing the knee forward, then you have the makings of a full step through. The yoga, the step through from downward facing dog into a lunge in yoga is a huge movement, and it is often taken for granted that everyone can do it. My first question for you is, based on what we've done so far, is it worth it? Because chances are it'll come eventually if you practice yoga long enough. You can use the momentum of your heavy leg to swing you forward. As long as you swing your whole body forward, you will get there. For a lot of people, I'm going to show you, there is a movement that works perfectly well, which is lower both sets of knees down and step your right foot forward. And it's going to bring you into a perfectly good lunge of any sort. You can tuck your back toes and lift that back leg and you're in your runner's lunge. This is there's no shame in doing movements in the way that suits you. Knees down and forward, leg forward, whichever leg you've been asked to bring forward. Forward, here you go, you're in your lunge, low lunge. Lift the back knee, you're in your high lunge. Lovely, job done. Set. There you go, that's your step through for people who feel like it's just not at this stage worth it to them. But if you work at it, you can develop the mechanic. Doesn't matter who you are, you can develop the mechanic of the step through. Your body can do it. And this is how this goes if you want to do it with some integrity. First of all, you need to get that fluidity so the whole body swings forward. You're bringing a leg with you. So just remind yourself, you're in downward facing dog. You're bringing your whole body forward, heels lift, shoulders come over wrists. We need to step that right foot forward. So you pick it up. You don't actually have to pick it up so high. I just like it. Some people don't bother to pick it up at all. They just scoop forward. On your exhale, make a lot of space between yourself and the floor. Bring your knee forward and then plonk your foot down. Some of these feet are going to be further back. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? You can shuffle it forward. You can pick it up and walk it forward. I don't like this. I do not like the pick it up and move it forward, but for some people, they like it and you can do it. So let's just try it. Right leg high. Exhale, round the spine, bring the knee forward. My arms are short, so I usually have to pick up my fingers to make it fit. And there we go, all the way through. I said that like it was easy. It's not easy, but you just need to get your mechanics right. If you try to bring this leg forward without moving your shoulders, give it a try, see what happens. It's not going very far. It's going at most halfway between your back foot and your front hand. Let's do the left leg. Pick it up. As you exhale, pull your belly in, round your spine, bring your knee forward, shoulders over wrists, left foot forward. There it is. Step through.
Okay, so let's walk the feet forward towards the hands. Soft forward fold here. Relax. We're going to thread all these together with a couple of rounds of sun salutations. Inhale, circle the arms up, reach for the ceiling. Exhale, hands to heart. Swing out. You could stop now. That's a longer workshop with really strong movements. If you want to practice a flow that uses all of them or most of them, then let's do a couple of sun salutations and we'll end there. So the steps to the front of the mat, you can use your blocks just as we did. If you're doing forearms, you just need to be a little bit more agile. You can't step through with the forearms. You bring your knees down, step the leg forward. So just classical sun salutations. Step 2, because I'm going to work diagonally. Step to the front of your mat. Feet a comfortable distance apart, nice and tall. Gentle drawing up of the abdomen, shoulders back and down. Hands down by the sides, palms facing forwards. Lifting through the crown of the head. Let's inhale, reach the arms up nice and tall. Exhale, soft forward fold. If your legs are warm, you can just hinge from the hips if that feels okay. Otherwise, for everybody, actually, I recommend bending the knees unless you know your hamstrings can take it. Relax the neck down here. On an inhale, monkey pose, a halfway lift. Either hands to shins or fingertips to the floor, whatever works better for you. There's no advanced or not in this posture. Exhale, release from the hips. Get your hands to your blocks or to the floor. Bend the knees if you need to. Just step the right foot back as far as it'll go. Bend that left knee over the ankle or behind it. So no overshooting the ankle here. Lower your right knee to the ground. Flatten out your right foot. Inhale, draw the arms up, reach for the ceiling. Exhale, hands down. Lovely. Stepping back to downward facing dog. So tuck the right toes, lift up the heels, step your left foot back, downward facing dog. And get ready for rounding your spine forward into plank. So remember, you can bring your knees down once you're there. As you exhale, round your spine, lift your heels, shoulders roll over the wrists, heels press back, belly pulling in. You can lower your knees here if you're not feeling up for it. Flatten out the feet, elbows tuck in, roll your body down and forward to the ground, hands down by the sides. Inhale, lift into a little cobra. Doesn't have to be a big one. Exhale down, tuck the toes. Let's just keep the knees down. Press into the hands, half press up, and then lift the hips up and back into downward facing dog. Take another breath here. We're going to do the step through for those who want to. If you don't want to do it, bring your knees down and step your right foot forward, or walk your feet forward to your soft forward fold. Otherwise, you can pick up your right leg if you want, or just lightly pick it up. And as you exhale, round your spine, shoulders over wrists, swing your right foot forward. Just swing it forward. There it is. And then swing your left foot forward. Soft forward fold here, dangle. Inhale, reach up, all the way to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's do the other side. Hands to heart. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, fold. So this time, I'll do it without dropping the knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Standing forward fold. Let's step the left foot back, far as it'll go. Find your lunge. So this right knee stays over the right ankle. Lower down the left knee. Inhale, circle the arms up, crescent moon. Exhale, hands come down. Tuck the back toes, just stepping back to downward facing dog. And always do all of this through knees. But we're here to practice. So on an exhale, pull the belly in, round the spine, shoulders come over the wrist, really long spine. You can bring your knees down at this point. If you're feeling quite strong, tip forward onto your tiptoes. Elbows tuck in, lower down to the ground.
in a sort of a reverse push-up. Inhale, lift your heart, open up. Exhale, lower down.
Tuck the toes. Either keep your knees down, or if your shoulders and your whole body is feeling quite strong, you tuck your toes, press into your hands and do a press up to plank. Exhale, roll back, downward facing dog. Have a breath. Lovely. On an inhale, possibly pick up your left leg. You can lower both knees and step your left foot forward. Otherwise, exhale, round your spine, bring your knee forward, shoulders over wrist, step that left foot forward between the hands, step the right foot forward, soften in. When you're ready, inhale, lift your heart, reach up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to heart. So that's a lot for most people. I'll put some stuff in time codes. For those of you who are happy with everything we've done, you've built the heat, you want a little bit more, let's workshop all of that Chaturanga, which is your plank to half plank with the hover. So you need to have a good downward facing dog. You need to have a really strong, comfortable plank. And you need to have no injuries in your shoulders, wrists, or arms. And just a sense of playfulness. Actually, it's hard. So, you know, practice is where this sort of builds, repetition and practice. But when you repeat, you know, you've got to be really careful not to build in an injury. So let's have a look. You've done your sun salutations. Hopefully you're feeling really reasonably warm. I am still cold, if you can believe it. Right, let's come to the top of the mat. We are going to inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, soft forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. So just bring your fingertips to the floor. If you're doing Chaturanga, then chances are you've got mobility for this. Fingertips to the floor. Bring your hands flat. Step back to downward facing dog. So let me just rotate this. I'm just sort of fanning around with the different permutations that I can do on this massive mat. Okay, downward facing dog. We want to come forward into Chaturanga. Chaturanga is actually I forget what it's actually called. I think it's eight limb staff pose or something like that. So we go past plank in this posture. As you inhale, lift your heels up high, round your spine, shoulders come over the wrists, then they come beyond the wrists onto tiptoes. Lengthen out here. This is really, really strong. Shoulders beyond the wrists. As you exhale, bend your elbows in, graze your ribs. Let's come all the way to the floor and just keep those elbows bent. Now, technically, when you're in Chaturanga, you're supposed to have your hands further back, so your elbows, your arms are at right angles. Now, my wrists are not keen on that, so I'm never quite all that way back, but you can try it. And I think the idea is it's safer, but I mean, what is safe in one person's body can be damaging for someone else's. Let's have a few little warm-ups here for the arms. So keep those elbows tucked in, and as you inhale, press into the hands, come up into your cobra. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. The last one. Inhale, open up, and come all the way up into upward dog if you can. So lengthen up the arms, let the pelvis and navel release from the ground, and you can press into the tops of the toes and lift the knees. So this should be okay if you're wanting to practice half your low plank. This should be okay. Okay, lower down. Tuck the toes. Keep those elbows tucked in. Push up to plank. Pull your belly in, downward facing dog. Have a little pedal out. You can have some child's pose here if you want. Chaturanga. Next time, let's see about stopping halfway down. So Chaturanga itself is halfway between being on your belly and being in plank. And you have to roll forward. So when you're ready, on an exhale, round spine, lift the heels, shoulders over wrists, just come into plank. Then tip forward, exhale, come halfway down, hover. Flatten out the feet, open up into upward facing dog. Round, come back to downward facing dog. It's a lot of work. If you've never done it before, that may have resulted in a belly flop, and that's fine. So let's pedal out for a minute. Have a breather if you need one. You can always come back. One more time, and then we will do some couple more sun salutations. Okay, so round the spine, come to plank, and then tip forward onto the tiptoes. Exhale, lower down. Maybe come to the hole, all the way down to the ground, and then lift up. So you can come to the ground and then open up, upward dog, tuck the toes, downward dog. So you can come all the way down until you get used to hovering. Let's just walk the feet forward towards the hands. Shake off the arms, have a wiggle. Just soften off, relax the shoulders. See, the part of the trickiness of this kind of work is that if you're the kind of person who builds energy as you build strength, even in the course of a workshop, it's just really hard to stop. I don't actually know anyone else who's like that, just me. Rest, soften the knees, inhale, rise up, stretch up, exhale, hands to heart. So this is it, last set of sun salutations, Ashtanga A, for the people for whom all of this has brought you to a point, or you've just done the bit that you need and you want to practice it through. So Ashtanga A, Series A sun salutations, you have the option to step back to plank or jump back. I mean, I'll tell you how to do that as we do it. So let's come to the front of the mat. Wardrobe adjustments. It's just endless, it never ends. Top of the mat. Feet under hips. You just don't do this if you're too tired, because it's a lot to ask. Hands down by the sides, palms facing forwards, nice and tall through the spine, crown of the head lifting. Inhale, draw the arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, fold. You can do a soft fold with soft knees. You could, I like to do a big fold personally, but you can do whichever variation you like. Inhale, halfway lift, either fingertips to the ground or hands flat to the ground. First time around, we're going to step back. Exhale, release from the hips. Step your right foot as far back as you can. Flatten out your hands. Step your left foot back to plank. You can go downward dog plank if you want. Inhale, tip forward, chaturanga, halfway down or all the way to the floor. Flatten out the feet. Inhale, open up into upward facing dog or back bend of your choice. On an exhale, tuck the toes, come back to downward facing dog. Have a breath. And let's jump forward. So you can step forward or walk forward if you prefer. Otherwise, press into your hands, lift your heels high, bend the knees down towards the ground. Really put that springiness in your legs, gaze between the hands. Hop forward. You can float if you're strong enough. Fold. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. How did you get on with the jump through? You can jump back as well. So we did the step back, you know, when we come down into forward fold, you could step back to plank and then half plank. If you want, you can jump back to plank. So let's try that in this round. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, soft forward fold or just fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release, hands flat to the floor.
Bend the knees a little bit, press into the arms, shoot your legs back to plank. Exhale, tip forward, lower halfway down, or to the floor, untuck the feet, lift your heart, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward dog. Press into the hands, heels press away, hips pressing back, shoulders wrapping around the chest. Lift your gaze, bend your knees, power up, float or jump forward. Release, fold. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Last variation. If you have come in and you're like, oh yeah, I've got Chaturanga, that makes total sense. And I do not recommend, I mean, you can try this, but unless you feel very strong in that hover halfway down, this is not for you. So you really need to feel really good, controlled and strong. When you jump back, you can jump into your Chaturanga with your half plank. So it's jumping back to this posture. So it's a very, very strong posture here. Plank is this one, hands under shoulders, feet under hips, Chaturanga, elbows bend, halfway down. Actually, the hands are quite a long way down. It's a big old push to the ground. So let's come to the front of the mat. You can try it, but only if you feel strong and controlled in that half plank, low lift plank. Inhale, lift your heart, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands come flat to the floor. And you can jump back to plank. You can step back to plank. That's the most recommended version. Or you can bend your knees, shoot your face forward and your toes back into Chaturanga, low lift plank. Open up into upward facing dog, round, downward facing dog. Breathe. Inhale, lift, look between your hands, bend the knees, hop, step, walk, forward, float forward, whatever makes sense for you. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart. I'm going to do 2 more rounds of sun salutations and you can pick your variation that works and do that. Stepping, floating, hopping, belly flopping, Chaturanga, plank, downward facing dog, knees up, knees down. As long as you get the shoulders over the wrists, belly pulling in, lots of strength, all of these variations are good. Step to the front of the mat. These are classical Ashtanga A sun salutations. Hands to heart, nice and tall. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, monkey. Exhale, release. Chaturanga or plank. You can step, float, walk. Inhale, back bend of your choice. Upward dog, downward dog, not downward dog, upward dog, cobra. Roll over the toes if you can, or just untuck them if you don't want to break your toes. Downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your gaze between your hands and step, walk, hop, forward, whatever suits you. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, monkey. Exhale, fold. Make your way back to plank or Chaturanga, your way. Inhale, lift your heart, back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathe. And just stay, rest. When you're ready, let's bring the knees down, take them out wide. Cross the ankles, walk your hands in, roll over, shuffle down the mat, lie down. Take the arms wide, legs wide, and rest. Any kind of stretching out you need, take it. I have done a video, shoulder stretches. You can go and do some of those, pick whatever you want out of those, thread the needle. To be honest, it just feels nice to lie here, actually, even though I'm cold. Yeah, pick what you need. Any kind of a stretch that feels good. I would recommend probably wipers. So let's just do that while we're here. Knees wide, toes pointing outwards, arms wide. We're just going to roll the knees from side to side. We all know, anybody who follows me knows this is my preferred unwind. So that's a lot. There is a lot. If you've done the whole session, and you know maybe one or two people who would do that whole session from beginning to end and get everything that there is available from it, and possibly not everything, even maybe not the last section, it doesn't really matter whether you get the whole thing. If you do the first 10 minutes, that's valuable. If you do the first 20 minutes, it's taking what you need from a workshop. And as I say, I ramp up and ramp up and ramp up, and I didn't feel warm at any point during that practice. My hands are still cold, my feet are still cold, my back is still, everything just still feels cold. So, you know, I may not be the best example of what counts as a healthy relationship to a lot of exercise. I just really like this sort of thing. I could do more of it. I do better when I'm warm. Anyway, if you're enjoying your wipers, stay with wipers. Otherwise, let's bring knees in towards the chest and have a little rock and a roll. Any kind of rock and roll, whatever feels good for you. And here, this is your cue to take your relaxation. So I'm not going to deliver a relaxation. I rarely do at the moment. But if you would like to rest, you know, as I say, never autoplay your YouTube videos because then you can take your rest, the video will end and you can just chill. So otherwise, you can join me. We'll come to a seated position. I'm just going to roll over. You can do a roly-poly if you want. I endorse roly-polies, as many as you can fit into your life. Just come to a comfortable, tall, seated position. Hands resting on the knees. Bring the hands to the heart. Thank you for joining me. You may not thank me for this, but I'm not there, so it's fine, isn't it? And also, you've only got yourself to blame if you decided to do the whole video, even though you didn't want to. So you can... I hope you feel strong. I hope you feel well. See you later.